Well, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. My name is Sean Williams, and I am so honored to have in the studio with me once again me and Pastor Vince Elam. We did a program, when was that, 2003,
Yeah,
2004?
something like
Yeah,
that.
it was somewhere around there. We had the Whip Cafe, and we did a program, and we did another program out at Douglas Center Park before. So been wanting to get in here. We do a lot of dialogue and back and forth at the barber shop. Um, you know, really intelligent a guy of a lot of wisdom, a really close friend of mine. I really look up to him, look up toward his input and the things that he had to say about the community. I thank the Lord for everybody that watch this program every Sunday night and say, Sean, I watch you every Sunday night. I talk to you guys throughout my daily walks throughout the community. I thank the Lord for you and you guys tuning in to me. So stay tuned. Call a friend, call another friend, and tell them that let the truth be told on. And I appreciate Jason for taking out the time, UPTV, for allowing us the opportunity to tape another television program to be able to be inside your homes and you guys viewing us. So thanks a lot. Hope you enjoy the program. And so what we're going to talk about today is that we're just coming off of a Martin Luther King celebration,
Yeah.
and celebrating Martin Luther King and his life and his legacy and what he meant to us as a nation, to us as a community, what he meant to each and every one of us in a household in the 20th century and going into the 21st century. So just trying to still live that dream. Martin Luther King left us with a viewpoint of what his envision was for us to carry on that legacy, to carry on that hope, to have a dream and to start dreaming. And so I'm going to introduce my guest, Pastor Vince Edom. Let him tell a little bit to this viewing audience, a little bit about himself. And what do you think about Dr. Martin Luther King's dream and what that means to us today?
Well, as I always say, ain't nothing to me but what you see. So I've been around here since I was about 14 years old. Uh, I'm just a humble servant and want to see better for my community, much, much better for my community. And so I think about Dr. King and what he brought to the table and how he paved the way for African Americans in this country. And went through a lot of hardships, went to jail, and all kinds of things happened to him. And eventually he was killed because he was trying to bring about some equality for all people. In his mind, the Constitution, which says all men are created equal, and he was trying to see that happen. As you mentioned earlier, he left us the blueprint. But I'm not so sure that we followed that blueprint. And I know I'll probably get in a lot of trouble for this, but I think the dream has become a nightmare because when you look at all the things that he went through and all the suffering and being put in jail and eventually being killed, if he was to come back to life today and walk around the streets of America and see what has become of the young African American males and all the things that are going on, I believe he would be heartbroken. I believe he would be hurt to see what has happened because somewhere along the way we have missed the mark and we went off into other things. And where we went and why we went that way, you can hear it from all different walks of life. Everybody has an opinion. But I just think that, greed played a part in it. Those who walked with him, now that he's gone, who's going to now pick up the mantle? And so you just see a lot of division and disunity in the African American community. And it's really sad because, as everybody continues to ask what's wrong and how do we fix it, each year, and I'm no disrespect for the people who put together the programs and different things, but each year we come back and we revisit the dream. And, and then we sing the song, we shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. And my question is, when are we going to actually overcome? When are we going to start living the dream instead of, I mean, it's good to look back, but when do we start implementing and putting into place the dream? Because it's not working. You know, you have poverty and you have all kinds of killings and different things. Someone was telling me the statistics in Chicago with black on black crime, that there's more killings in Chicago than the Iraq and Afghanistan war put together. Something is wrong with that, and we need to take another look at the dream and what Dr. King meant. And then those who are leaders, we need to figure out a plan, because we're not going to do this. Everybody got an agenda. Everybody got their own personal agenda. And personal agendas are not going to get this done. It is going to take unity. It's going to take people working together. And when I look back at Dr. King, they came together. Black people from all over. Didn't matter whether he was Muslim or Christian, or if you were poor black or maybe well educated, they came together. And then there were white people and all different people from all walks of life, and they walked hand in hand, and there was a unity there. And because of that unity, they were able to achieve what we now are enjoying some of. But where is that unity today?
You know, Pastor Elam, as you speak, you know, and you talk about Dr. King and his dreams and the amount of dedication that it took, the perseverance that it took, the focusedness that it took for him to be able to put things in place for us. You know, the strain of that on his own personal family.
Right.
You know, I looked at and our hearts and prayers go out to his family, because I think just a couple days ago or the other day I was just reading that his oldest daughter passed away out in California.
Right.
And so they're going through mourning right now, just after Dr. King's celebration and his birthday. You know, but they missed their dad. They missed, missing, we see how single family homes are. But when the leader is paving a way for a whole race of people and a nation, and it takes away from that family structure, from their own family. So as I listen to their stories and I listen to some of the siblings talk, they have battled within their family because Dr. King sacrificed and gave so much up for all of us, that they lost out.
Yeah, that's true.
And that they lost out, the wife lost out of a husband. You know, and so when we look at civic leaders and people that's trying to work hard and diligent to pave a way for us, because we still got people that are pursuing that dream, that passion of helping others to this day. And they miss out on their own lives.
Absolutely.
Their own families and the dedication to that. You know, and so and when we talk about the nightmare, because when I thought about dream, I thought about a nightmare also.
Yes, sir.
All dreams don't be just.
No, sir.
Don't,
they ain't good dreams. They ain't sugar plum and fairy tales. Yes, sir.
You know, some dreams become nightmares, and you wake up in a cold sweat.
Absolutely.
And so as I look at Medgar Evers and I look at Rosa Parks and some of these other leaders that paved and to play that role, you know, into trying to get us to where we are today, to be able to have some of the luxuries of things that we have today, where we can walk into. I just went into the city council chambers bathroom. I didn't see a sign that said black or white.
Come on, yeah.
You know, I didn't see a water fountain that said black or white. You know, I didn't see nobody guarding that or looking at me or snarling at me because I used whatever bathroom I wanted to use. So in that time, in that day and era, you know, it was something different. So we do have the luxuries of living somewhat of a dream, you know, somewhat of his dream and his accomplishments. But for overall, I just don't think that we take advantage of a lot of the things that are available for us. So I don't think that we take advantage of it. You know, we was just talking right before I left and came over in the shop and was talking to some of the brothers about, you know, coming to do the program. And so one of the brothers said, he said, man, nobody's stopping you from going to get what type of employment you want or the education that you want, you know. Right. And I think that a lot of it that we have developed is that we're in prisons within our own minds.
Right.
Within our own minds, and a lot of times we put a felony on our own self that the government didn't put on us.
Right.
You know, so that holds us back to start to achieve some of the dreams that's out there for us.
Right.
And like you said, a lot of it's become monetary, it's become greed, you know.
Absolutely.
And when I look at it, when I look at organizations, a lot of our organizations now, it's so much money involved into finding out what the problem is. It's not solving the problem. It's identifying the problem.
Absolutely.
Once we identify a problem, then that starts a fundraiser. That starts to develop a program. That starts to bring in different educated people into the table, bring them to the table where we start to find out how can we get paid for this.
Right.
We've identified this issue. We identified this group of people that need this type of resource, and how can we get paid? And I think paying opposed to service.
Right.
There's no more service. It should be service before pay, but we put pay before service because if it don't pay, then we don't need to provide no service.
We don't want to do it.
We don't want to.
Yeah,
we should provide service.
And you know, it's kind of sad that it's come to that. You know, people go and they get educated and they want you to honor the accolades or they want them accolades. They want you to more or less pat them on the back for what they've gone and done. And it's great that you've accomplished some things, but now we've got to pay you for what you've gone and done. And many times we forget that now that I've achieved that, my responsibility now is to reach back and bring somebody up. But we're so busy trying to get paid or get the accolades or get the pat on the back for what we've accomplished. And, you know, then sometimes it leads to greed. You'll have organizations where money comes in and it's available, and then you find that people get greedy and their hands get sticky, and then it's just a negative swing on what we're trying to do. And I'll put it this way, for me being a pastor, a lot of people like that title pastor, you know. And so I remember one time we were at a conference, and the lady didn't put Pastor Elam on my, you know, little tag. And she thought I was going to get mad. But I was like, I'm not mad. You know, you could have put Vince, because that's what my mama named me, you know. I'm not hung up on a title, you know. Oh, no, you got to call me by who I am because I've done what I needed to do to get this title. But I look at it like this. You know, what did they call Peter? They called him Peter. What did they call Paul? They called him Paul. What did they call Matthew? Matthew. Let's take it further. What did they call Jesus? Jesus. They didn't call him apostles Jesus or apostle. They just called him by their name. So if Paul could be Paul and Peter could be Peter and Matthew could be Matthew and Jesus could be Jesus, I could be Vince. And then the other issue a lot of times is pay me for what I do. But in my profession, in a sense, and I take it literally, go in the vineyard and work, and whatever's right, I'll pay. So you want the Lord to pay you, but we want the people we serve to pay us when actually we are their servants. And if you really read the Bible and look at it in the sense that Jesus didn't come to be served, but he came to serve, where is that mindset?
Well, and I think we really got off the mark when we think of it in that particular terms, because as we've seen in the Bible where Jesus washed the feet.
Absolutely.
So that was just the ultimate, that was service in the ultimate way, because it ain't too many people out here that's washing anybody's feet unless you go to a shop and pay somebody to wash your feet, you know, and clean your feet and cut your toenails and all this other type of stuff. You know, one of the things that you mentioned, Pastor, was taking that title off. You know, I've dealt with a lot of ministers, and I've dealt with a lot of people in political realms and things of that nature, and they get an ego swing when it comes down to the title of whatever position that they're in. And so, and when we run in and we're doing public service for people, and we're trying to relate to young people or people throughout the community or throughout this nation, and it almost puts a standoffish tone toward the people that we're trying to serve, because now we can't keep it real with them. But I've seen you in action, and when I introduce you to people inside of the barbershop or atmosphere like that, and to some of the guys, and I say, well, this is Pastor Elam, you say, oh, no, don't just call me Vince. And you can see the whole cloud or
they
the
just,
whole window kind of go down.
yeah,
And so now they're able to ask you a question, something that they've been wanting to ask, because most of the time the people that we're trying to serve, they're not coming to you.
absolutely,
You got to go to them.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so they're asking a question, and you can, and they don't have to have so much, so they don't have to curve the question
Right.
in a way where it's so holier than thou that you won't be able to relate to them.
You come down to their level. You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? I used to be a Mason. I've since learned that's not for me. But one of the things that I do like about what they do is no matter where you are in the upper houses, when you meet an apprenticeship, you come down to their level and you raise them up. You know, we can even go spiritual. You know, I'm a preacher, so I got to be who I am.
Yes, sir.
You know, God saw the trouble that we were in. We couldn't get to him. So what did he do? He came to us. He humbled himself and became obedient, became a man. You know what I'm saying? So if he can have that kind of humility, where is that humility in us where we are servants of the people rather than wanting to be served? I mean, sometimes I get the impression that people almost want you to bow and kiss their hand. I remember one time we were somewhere and the person came in, you know, everybody stand. Well, some of us didn't stand because I don't get into stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, it's like you could tell it bothered them because as soon as they got up, well, if the president had came in, y'all would have stood, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, what's the humility here?
You
It's
done
an
put
ego.
yourself, you
Yeah.
done put yourself to the level
Absolutely,
of the president. You know,
absolutely.
and relating that back to King's dream, you know, do you think, and this is the way I feel. I mean, I'm gonna put the question to you and the listening, viewing audience. Do you think that Dr. King, being a minister, being a pastor, would he appreciate the direction that the community? Because when we looked at community and pastors and roles that they played during that civil rights movement, they played a major role in picking the people up and uplifting the people and being concerned about the issues that they were going through, whether it was social, economic, you know, not just in a religious standpoint, but what controls your everyday life.
Absolutely.
So do you think that those people that had sacrificed, that had gave the ultimate sacrifice, even sacrificed their lives, you know, been murdered because of what they believed in, do you think those people would they still be happy and supportive of what we are looking at on today?
No. If we were moving in the direction that, you know, we were moving in when this happened, let's take the boycott of the buses.
Okay.
What happened is they wouldn't ride the buses, but the churches got involved and they used their church vans and different things to get the people back and forth to work or take them where they needed to go, because they knew that economically, if they stopped riding and giving their money, it was going to hurt the bus company.
Right.
So they came together and they did things like that. Today, it's about greed, not need. I'm going to say it, you know. It's about the type of car you drive as a pastor, about the kind of house you live in, and I'm hard on them because when they make you feel like that's what they're supposed to have, Jesus said, foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man have nowhere to lay his head. He didn't preach about the paper. But today it's all about the paper and it's a status quo. And it's like, okay, when I get there, then you all look at me and see where I am and you'll be blessed because I'm blessed.
And since you said you're kind of hard, and you're kind of hard, and I know me and you were friends, we talked a lot.
Yeah.
What got you to the point that kind of made you kind of frustrated with what you see?
I grew up in church all my life, since I could remember as young as 4 years old. And I saw some of the craziest stuff in church from church folks. And I saw some of the craziest stuff from pastors and leaders who said they were men or women of God. And in front of the crowd, they were men and women of God. But behind closed doors, I don't know who they were. And I saw that. And it about messed me up to the point that I didn't even want to have nothing to do with church at all. I mean, when I say I was done, I was done. But then I had my own personal experience. And in that personal experience, I met Jesus Christ for real. And it changed my life. And it gave me a different perspective. The other thing that I did while I was just going to church, I was going through the motions. I was the one that sang in the choir, sang everybody happy, and then went out and did all this crazy stuff. You know, I was the one that played on the drums, and when I got done playing the drums, I was doing all this other stuff outside of what Christianity says we're supposed to be doing. That was me. But when I understood and when I had that personal relationship, one of the things that I did was picked up my Bible one day and read it for myself. And man, when I did that, my eyes came open because I began to realize that although maybe people meant well, some of the stuff that they were saying was not the truth according to the Word of God. But when people don't know the Word for themselves and they put an individual on a pedestal, then whatever he says, it's law. And it could be dead wrong. But if you don't know it's wrong, you'll just continue. Like the video we seen, we know that's dead wrong.
Right.
But apparently this lady has been teaching her daughter ain't nothing wrong with that. So her daughter's okay with it, and she's confused. But because she's taught her that that's okay, she don't know no better. And that's how it happens. And so when I read the Bible, and I went all the way from Genesis to Revelation, when I closed the book, I started crying. Because I realized one of the things that hit me was his eyes go to and fro, beholding the good and the evil. And I thought about all the dumb stuff that I had done. And my question was, God, you mean you seen me when I did? I was embarrassed. And I was so repentant, and I wanted to know more, and I wanted to know more. And I began to seek God. I began to read. I began to study. And my understanding came open. And then when my understanding came open, it was like a play. And I would be looking at the Bible, and then I'd look up from the Bible to look at people who were actors on the stage. And I'm like, they're not doing this right. So then it was like, oh, well, now that you're where you need to be, you're holier than thou. You think you're better than everybody else. No, I understand now that this is really how it goes. So then if this is how it goes, as the young folks say, what is this, you know? And that's what basically it came to.
You know, so in listening to you just now, you was able to tell us that you still attended church while you were trying to learn.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when I talk to some of the brothers or mention something about church, oh, well, I'm not really going to go there yet because, you know, I'm not right. And so we have put this facade up that you can't come in this door until you're right.
No.
And so you allowed yourself to continue to go, continue to do the motions until you kind of got it together.
Well, no, actually, I'll be honest with you. You know, one, I'll say that you can't, you'll never, like that's saying I'm going to wait until I get right to go is like saying I'm going to wait till I get well to go see the doctor. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there is a process of where you learn if you're in a place where people are teaching you and trying to help you to mature and become good Christians. The other part is you can't tell them do as I say, not do what I say, not what I do. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be an example. And sometimes we have hypocrites. And that's what a lot of reason why these brothers don't come, because as one brother said when we was in the barbershop one time, he said, game, recognize game. And he running scams and he sitting there and he happened to realize, man, this ain't nothing but a game. You know, people playing with your lives like that. And it's not fair. I mean, and while folks are trying to get rich and establish their own little kingdoms, we as a race of people, we've fallen behind.
So it's fair to say that everybody's dream is the motives aren't pure in everybody's dreams. What they see as a dream for themselves, or what they see that they want the society so if I'm a leader and I'm put in the position, so I might be on council, I might be the head of an organization, I might be the head of a corporation. The dream or the vision that I have, the vision and mission statement that I might have, when I'm acting it out, my motives, is it fair to say my motives might not be pure?
Well, I can't speak for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some people are just selfish and they only think about themselves, you know? And so once I've achieved what I've wanted to achieve, hey, I got mine, you get yours, you know? But then there are other people who, like Dr. King, who says, you know, I'm educated, I went to school, I got my degree, so I can go home now and, you know, work a good job as an African American man in that particular time and just make sure my family's taken care of. But he saw the disparity. He saw that things were not right, and unless somebody spoke up and said something, it was never going to change. So he made those sacrifices, as you said, being away from his children and different things of that nature, to assure that we all had a place at the table. That, you know, he had the dream. You know, I have a dream, you know, that one day, you know, black children and white children will be able to sit at the table and, you know, and all of those dreams, and they were dreams that he had. Some of those things we can actually say have happened. We've achieved those things. But there were other things that needed to be done, and they have not, to me, they have not been done up until this present time. Let's talk economically for a second. Let's jump in there real quick. I looked at some information, and according to a recent study by the Nielsen Company, African Americans will have 1.1 trillion in collective buying power by 2015. Okay, so that means that all together, with all of our resources combined, we make up about $1.1 trillion. That's a lot of money, you know, but it is not working for our community. And let me tell you why. Because a dollar circulates in the Asian community for a month. In the Jewish communities, approximately 20 days, and in the white community, 17 days. How long do you think a dollar circulates in the black community?
I read your article.
6 hours.
6 hours.
Because nothing's going back. 2 cents out of every dollar. I'm told, now I got this statistic from one of our black businesses, that roughly $32 million a year goes through the African American community in Champaign County. Now, I don't know if those facts are true, but it was on a statement, so I'm going to check to be sure, and I'm going to let you know if that's actually true. If that is true, how much of that is going back in the African American community? I can just about tell you probably none of it, or very little of it, 2 cents out of every dollar, because where are our black businesses that we can patronize? You know, I mean, you're going to get your hair cut. You know, I'm going to come get my hair cut. You know, I'm going to... the ladies gonna come get their hair did or whatever. But primarily, when it comes to where that money goes, it's going outside of the community. I remember, can we say names? Cleveland Jefferson one time said we should hold our money. Do you remember that?
I wrote that down.
Do you remember that? And so I'm like, okay, so and we're gonna hold our money for how long? 30 days.
He was the president of the NAACP at that time. And I remember him coming to us.
Absolutely.
I think we was even at the barbershop, some of that atmosphere.
We were about to go to the Urban League for that meeting.
For that meeting that we had.
2005.
That
nothing materialized out of it.
Because of a name.
Because of a name.
Because of a name.
You see what I'm saying?
What we're going to be called.
Who are we going to be?
Instead of sticking to the mission of trying to help our youth get out of the place that they were in, and help our people get out of the place, the disparative nature that they were in. And so, and we told him that would not work. No. Because
why?
Because first of all, we ain't got a grocery store.
Absolutely.
We don't have a gas station.
We don't have a bank.
Yeah, we don't have a bank. You know, so you're not gonna deprive the people.
In 30 days, you know, you're gonna go back to those same places.
So and then the larger base community already understands this. So I don't think that it's them that hold us back. So I don't think we had the same issues that Dr. King was dealing with at that time. I think it's black on black crime. You know, I think it's self-hatred. You know, we don't want to see each other come up. You know, I think you know, when you get a nice car You know, I can't congratulate you
Yeah,
on your nice
yeah.
vehicle. You get a nice home, I can't congratulate you. You've been married for 25, 30 plus years.
28 years in
28
April.
years.
Yeah.
And I can't come up to you guys and say, man, congratulations. How did you do that? And then I can sit back and then me and my wife can go by your blueprint and let you counsel me.
Right.
I ain't listening to him.
Yeah.
And then we'll just dissect everything that's wrong with you instead of finding out the things that's right about you.
I ain't patronizing, Sean.
You know, and and instead of asking me, Sean, how did you do
Yeah.
that? And then I tell him, I sit down and tell him, I say, you know what, I went to the Champaign Public Library, and I ran into a great librarian that day. Because I remember, one of the things I do remember in school, when I did pay attention, they said the library is the information center.
Right.
So when I got myself together, and as I did what the guy in the Bible did, came to myself, the prodigal child,
Yeah, prodigal son.
prodigal
That's it,
son,
that's it.
came to myself. See, that's why I bring him along, because he know the Bible back and forth, you know. And so so when I came to myself, I said, man, I need to go get this information.
Absolutely.
Because I need to be a part of this program. And it was called Community Collaboration for Economic Development, with some black business owners that felt as though we didn't have black businesses at the time, that are senior guys in the community now. They need to pass the torch on to some younger guys now. They need to keep that ball going. But we're missing those guys, because those guys are preoccupied right now, doing something else,
Absolutely.
distracted.
Absolutely.
They like the prodigal son. They still out there eating with the pigs.
Yeah.
You know,
done lost everything.
they lost everything.
Yeah.
But see, ain't enough people sitting up there saying, man, you eating with the pigs.
Come on, you need to get yourself
You
together.
need to get yourself together,
Come on.
because we'd like for you to stay distracted. We'd like for you to be in your mess.
Absolutely.
I always say a lot of the people, and I'm talking about us and our
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
A lot of times with us, I always say this here, and it's the views and opinions of Sean.
Okay.
Charged to my head, not to my heart. But I always say a lot of times we get happy when we see our people going to jail. We get happy when so-and-so died. He knocked off. You know, he in trouble. We'll run to that.
That's crazy.
Anytime that we can only pick up the local newspaper, and we will bypass what's going on world news. We'll bypass
Going on in the
everything
stock market.
that's
Yeah.
in the stock market. We won't pay attention to the Dow Jones and commodities and
Sports
things.
page and
learn
obituary.
We want to look at police and court.
Yes, sir.
And we want to run to the obituary
Yes, sir.
section.
Yes, sir.
It's something wrong with that picture.
yeah.
And until we change the cycle of that, you know, until we change that and break that standpoint, you know, I got so many people that, and I'm keeping it 100 and real, that talk about me, that don't even know me.
I know.
That don't even know me. I mean, don't even know nothing personally about Sean, but because of big family, and then lock us all into one group.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so thankful that my family then came to themselves and then changed their way. So what you're talking about is old stuff.
Absolutely.
You're talking about old
Yeah,
stuff.
buddy, I know about
You ain't
that.
talking about nothing new.
I know about that.
You know, bring your conversation up to speed on what the brother's doing now, and then maybe ask a brother to what they doing now.
Yeah.
You know, find out what's going on with some of these families. We have great families that's out there, and people that's
Absolutely.
doing great things.
Absolutely.
But that's not the conversation. It's not the talk, because people don't want to tell the great things that you're doing.
No, we always want to, we always want to, look at all the negative, and people say about me, I'm negative, but I don't mean to be negative. I just want to see things change. It's been, when I was 14, 13, I came here. I moved from Gary, Indiana, and I moved here with my dad. And the things that I saw at 13, 14, and I've looked around in our community, and nothing's changed, really. I mean, there's a few changes, but primarily, everything's about the same. We got a few nicer churches in our community, but outside of that, we still don't have a bank. We still don't have a grocery store. We don't even have a soul food restaurant. I mean, you just start thinking about that. Who in this town? And I'm not trying to say that, this is all about black, but I think that the reason why we haven't been invited to the table because we ain't got ourselves together.
And a lot of times, some of these people that's through our community that's tearing it down, I call them dream busters.
Yeah.
Because there was so many different people that told me, Sean, you can never do anything.
Right.
Sean, that'll never work. No, you ain't gonna be able to have that type of business. even when you read the stats, me getting in the funeral home business, the stats say, oh no, you need $250,000 to even look this direction. You need to did this, you need to did that. And then we've been able to go against the grain. I always love that. You can go against the grain, go against what folks done told you, because I'm standing on faith. And I think ultimately that's the major walk, is the faith walk. Once, and I always tell the people that surrounded around me in business, if you put the work in, then God gonna give the increase.
Right.
But you gotta put the work in.
You gotta put the work in.
You gotta be able to put the work in.
Absolutely.
And I think that we have not put enough work in working with each other. So when I sit around the table with a lot of political leaders, city leaders, and things that have agendas, and they're trying to get us to play a role, they get so frustrated with us because they still see us spinning our wheels.
Right.
So as the city grows by leaps and bounds, and we
All
start busting
over
the
the place.
seams,
Yes, sir.
we start busting the seams. But then when we look at our community,
Still the
and
same.
you use your magnifying glass, and it's
still-
smaller,
yeah,
and it's getting smaller,
Yes, sir.
and it's getting smaller of the people that's out there shaking and moving and making
Absolutely.
something happen. Because and I'm gonna say, for me and what I understand, so many people get paid off your dysfunctionality.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it in a city meeting one time because I started learning what I was doing. I ain't been to no University of Illinois. I ain't got a
That's a
PhD,
whole
master's
nother
degree,
subject,
and
yeah.
all this other type of
Right,
stuff.
right.
All I'm going off personal experience. And I love my mama because my mama said ain't nothing like having mother's wit.
Right.
Ain't nothing like having mother's wit. And so I love my mama for that because it teach you to watch and pray and learn off of every experience, the good and the bad.
That's right.
Because you can pull something out of it. Even when I'm doing a service, I tell the family, you got to pull something out of this situation. Even if it's bad, it's God trying to tell you something. So what I learned at that meeting, and I'm sitting with my nephew Jamar, and I told him, I said, man, you know what? I said, I see what's going on. I said, everybody around this table getting paid off the dysfunctionality of the community. I said, so the city, they get more money because we
Right.
got so much going on. We got more
Absolutely.
drug abuse. We got more
Absolutely.
drug use. We got selling of the drugs.
Right.
And so the violence that come within that, the crime that go on with that. So that means that's more money for the city. That means that's more money for police departments. That means ultimately that's more organizations that we need because we need people to service these
That's right.
people
Gotta-
that's
gotta-
going through all this situation.
gotta service the
So
dysfunction.
even my ministers, and some of them are great guys, that was at the table. And as I told them, I said, the product that you sell is the product of hope. So we got more people falling off the boat.
Yes,
They
sir.
need more hope once they
need-
start coming to
oh,
themselves.
well.
I need
Oh,
some
well.
encouragement. I
Yes,
need
sir.
that product that you got.
Yes, sir.
So as you being a pastor, I need to come to you,
Yeah.
and so you can mentor me and get me back on my feet and give me some spirituality so I can have some faith, some hope. And I said, and then when we all don't meet at the table and they come together right, and everything go wrong, they end up being at the funeral home.
Absolutely.
And then that's when I get paid,
Right.
at a local funeral home. But I don't want to get a person. I talked to a young person because we've been going through so much violence, Pastor Elam, throughout this community, because I always say hurt people hurt people. And so it's unattended ills that's going on out there. So it's like a person you said that never make it to the hospital.
Right.
But we seeing them every day.
Oh, yeah.
And we know what's going on around the
Dysfunction.
community.
Yes,
And
sir.
we know when guys are, like Pastor Nash said, the top is rumbling in them. But we sit up and we look the other way.
Yeah.
And we don't say that something going on with that brother. Somebody need to grab that brother, that sister, and talk to him and say something. So we never do it. We never do acknowledge that. So once it's going on with them, we just don't address it.
Yeah.
It's unaddressed issues that's going on through those people, and so we let it happen. And so I don't blame the condition of us. So as President Obama just had the State of the Union,
Right.
and we're talking about the state of Champaign-Urbana,
Right, absolutely.
the state of our community, and dysfunctionality of it, and the possible dream going into a nightmare for a lot of us. So for a lot of these families that I didn't serve, their dreams that they have, they're great people. They've been trying to do some great things, working a job, single mom, working hard, raising a son, but in this community, son gets snuffed out by somebody else that's out there hurting. So that dream then now became a nightmare for them people.
That's right.
And even in the form of them going through their nightmare, there's nobody out there to say, I know you're going through something. There's nobody doing no follow-up.
I mean,
it's nobody out there to give a follow-up. So now we got some more bitter people, and I can't blame them people for being bitter, because I would be mad in their situations. I was frustrated when stuff happened to some of my brothers and things of that nature. I had to realize that, you know, just being involved in certain things bring on certain things.
Right.
And it's all about our choices.
Yep.
You know, and so we can't beat each other up about choices, but you sure enough got the responsibility, your civic and your personal responsibility
Absolutely.
is to advise your people,
Absolutely.
educate your people, and let your people know when they doing wrong, when they doing good. If you know anything that can help them out, you know, any resource out there. Off your economic thing that you just talked about,
Yeah.
and we said we're talking about all people, but you gave a statistic on African Americans. You gave a
Right.
statistic on Latinos,
Asians.
Asians,
Yep.
Jews.
That's right.
And so, in bringing it back to our community, when I first got started in the barbershop, I understood something clearly. I said, man, I did a lot of guys in the hood. A lot of guys, you people might say that the large base community say these are crooks, criminals, whatever. But they needed a haircut
Yep,
also.
that's right, that's right.
So they came to shine,
There
you
you
know,
go.
because I came down to earth with them. I didn't judge them. I didn't judge them for who they were.
They come to get a
They come to
haircut.
get a haircut.
Absolutely.
And then if I sit back and I bring in Pastor Elam or somebody else, we might be able to touch bases with this guy to get him on the right track. And you never know, because a lot of times that stranger become an angel.
That's right.
Through a conversation. But we never do want to see them because you got to get a little dirty to deal with them type of
Right,
people.
right.
So I learned that they needed haircuts. But the also thing that I learned that they did me no justice if they was only out here for 6 months. So I had to connect them with the people that had jobs. And the people that had jobs, I would tell them, I said, man, are your job hard? Because I know some guy that want to get his life together, and it'd be beneficial to me at the end of the day
Absolutely.
for him to become a continual customer, that he needed a job. He needed to bring his family up. And so many guys over the years have came to me, Pastor Elam, and said, man, I don't want to be in the streets no more.
No, they told me the same thing.
I don't want to be in the street.
Yeah,
I don't
totally
want this
same thing.
lifestyle. They seen their buddies dying. They seen them going to prison. They've been to prison themselves. Nobody really wants to keep on going through the same dysfunctional lifestyle. You know, they want to be a benefit to their significant other or their wives or their children even. You know, nobody wants their children to look at them as a non-productive father.
Right. Misfit in society.
Yeah, nobody wants to be
No.
that. Everybody wants to be a winner.
Yeah.
You know, but they got to find out how can they fit into that winning position to be a winner. And so by having a community that don't have a lot of resources and don't got a lot of groups of people that are pressing them to a way and saying you can be successful, but besides telling them you need Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to somebody that's been in that haven't been in church all their life.
Right.
That's a big statement.
When and you know, they say you need Jesus, and if I was out there, I'd say, well, did Jesus have a fish sandwich? Because I'm hungry.
Mhm.
You know, did Jesus have a job? Because I don't have a job. Did Jesus have a place for me to stay? Because I don't have a place to stay.
Mhm.
And when we say we don't, a community that don't have resources, but we find resources for what we want to find resources for. We have money.
You know what? And I will retract that statement
We
because
have
of the
money.
fact that we do have resources.
money.
You just said
Yeah.
$32 million.
32 million. Now, like I said,
$32 million.
that was on a printout that I saw,
Mhm.
and it stated that, and it may be wrong, but I was asking just a couple of days ago, is this a true statement? And as far as I understood, it was. But I will say this. I will say this though. The issue is when we use that money, and let me digress and say it like this. Everybody has some dysfunction in them. Everybody does.
Mhm, mhm.
But the disunity is the part that doesn't allow us to use the resources for what they need to be used for. For example, there are, and you know, I have to go back to the churches. There are 18 to 20 churches in a 20-block radius in the African American community. And most of them won't fellowship with each other, don't talk to each other, because they all believe something different. And so the church down the street, or we're in competition with each other. So if you build something, I got to build something, because I don't want folks to leave down there and come down here. So the choir's got to be on point. The preacher's got to pull up in his nice car. He may be living in a great house, you know, whatever the case. So there's money available for what we want it to be available for. But my question is, even before we go out in the community, what about the people that's sitting right there in your own congregation that's poor, that don't have money, that really don't have no place to stay? Their power is turned off. They need food. I've served on boards or been standing in places where food was being given away, and the very people who are very gung ho on paying tithes, their members were standing in the food bank trying to get food so they can have something to eat. So my question was, if you're a tithe payer, your freezer ought to be full. You ought to have a car in the driveway. And that's a whole nother show. But I'm saying we have resources for what we need to have them, but $1.1 trillion is collectively. So when we put our monies together, that's a lot of power. And then start doing some things to change the dynamics, change the perspective, change how we look at things. You know what I'm saying? So if we want change and we've got the ability to bring about change, then folks got to stop trying to dip into the pot to get what they need out and leave that alone so that everybody can benefit from it. But as it stands right now, only a few people benefit from the resources that they say are there. I know I don't get none of it, and I'm not trying to get any. I would love to be in a position where some of the resources that come in some of the area churches, to have that coming through here, because I don't need no Mercedes. I don't need to live in no $400,000 home. What I need is to be able to put together programs, because them same people that you talked about said to me, Pastor Elam, you know, because I tell them, man, you don't need to be out here doing this. You know, I don't run from them. I go out, they be smoking, you know, and when they see me, they'll hide the cigarette or whatever, and I'll stand there. And it's like, well, I used to smoke 3.5 packs of cigarettes a day, so I'm not, now all of a sudden I'm so holy, I can't stand cigarette smoke. But I'm talking to them, and they say, I don't want to do this no more, but I done been to jail, they don't want nobody to give me a job, and they just kind of list all the different things. You know, and I'm sitting there, man, if we had programs, you got all these buildings that sit empty. What if we got together and called some carpenters in and said, hey, will you show them the basics? And then once they learn the basics, then what we'll do is, if you want to take it a little further, maybe you have to go to Parkland. With these pooled resources, we could now help you go to school, help you get an apprenticeship program. So now we got carpenters, electricians, plumbers, you name it. We doing stuff like that so that we can now start putting people in positions to where they don't have to sell drugs. Because don't you kid yourself, prison is a multi-billion-dollar industry now, okay? So if I'm selling watermelons, you know what? I want to go out there and see as many watermelons as I can see. If I'm selling corn, I want to go out there and see as much corn as I can see. So if I'm in the business of prisons, then I want to see people full in those prisons, full of prisons. So you have to go to another dynamic. So we've got our children starting at a young age. They're getting records before they in high school. That's getting them prepared to go to prison where they're going to make money off of you. And one statistic we looked at said it's $36,000 to $65,000 per year per inmate, and that's depending on where you live. That's a lot of money, man. So people are getting rich off of those dysfunctions, and they don't want you messing with that money. So so it's crazy.
You know, Pastor Elam, as you spoke about that, you know, it's this, and I added to an extra onto it. It's the social meal that we're fed.
Right.
So when you look at the music, you look at the clothing, you look at the social media and everything that's out there, and what they're feeding to the people, the mainstream people. Because I always say, you know, when we look at it at a large base, everybody ain't in church, you know, and so the mainstream things, and then a lot of times, you know, the folks that's in church still, you know, maybe
they still waiting for something to drop out the sky. That's what
and then when it's $1.5 billion and the lottery just got played, you know who just wasn't just you know $62 million was spent between one Wednesday to the following Wednesday of that night that the lottery was
I
the
ain't gonna call. I ain't
Powerball
gonna call no names.
$1.5 billion.
I ain't gonna call no names.
62 million just right here in the state of Illinois.
I ain't gonna call
Okay.
no names.
So-
But let me say this: I ain't gonna call no names. But one young lady told me she was at a store, and the line was so long,
Mhm.
and they was waiting, and she seen this guy standing off to the side,
Mhm.
and they said, "Here's your tickets, sir," and they threw the tickets. He threw the money under there, but he was covered up. So when he turned around, she looked right in his face, and it was a preacher. Now he telling y'all to believe God and pay your tithes, and God's gonna open up the window of heaven, pour you out a blessing you don't have room enough to receive. But he playing the lottery. See, it's that kind of stuff right there that really just like it's like, come on,
You know what, Pastor?
Keep
For me,
it real.
And the views and opinions of Shines, I really just keep it real with me.
yeah,
I rather just keep it real.
Okay.
I'd rather you just tell me who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and I know who you are. That don't mean I can't listen to what you tell me.
absolutely.
I mean, I done seen, it's been guys that lives are all messed up
Yeah.
that tell me something and I can add that to my repertoire. Because if a
Absolutely.
man telling me that the bridge is out down there and I'm driving down the road and it's dark, but he's stopping me trying to tell me the bridge out there, and if I keep going, I'm not going to judge him about who he is. Just he advised me, he who the Lord sent right there to say the bridge is out down the street. So it's my, that I got to use my common sense and say, this guy's telling me
Right.
that there's something going on up there. I better hold off. So I'm not going to judge the person. So even if you are in that position, just keep it real with the people and tell the people who you are. You know, I wouldn't come in nowhere where I'm all hooded out and this, that, and other because I'm finna play some lottery number.
Right.
Now, I have spoken with certain ministers about playing the lottery and beating yourself up with that type of
Right.
type of dilemma. I wouldn't say, well, they would say sin,
Right.
but I would say just that type of vice.
Right.
I said vice because we all got vices.
You
So
better believe it.
So, and I said, so what's the difference in maybe playing the lottery or maybe a dice game or a poker game or card game or casino game or going to one of the local gaming centers, gaming stores that's around town, or the boat or whatever the case. And what's the difference between investing in the stock market?
Okay.
What's the difference in that? And he said, well, some of those are legal and some of them ain't.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
And that, so being in the defense and how to dissect that, if you're not scripture knowledgeable, you wouldn't know how to combat that to be able to say, well, no, it's saying here or whatever the case, and be able to point that out where it's saying there. Now, I think it does say something about a game of chance.
Right. And I think it's very wise that, you know, when God blesses you with finances or whatever the case may be, and if you're going to use them and you playing a game of chance, well, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And most of the time you lose. As you see, nobody won a few times. That's how it grew to what it was. So, you know, and people get to the extreme sometimes. Not every time. You know, if you just playing a dollar, but some people go to the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
They betting they whole check. Well, if you don't hit, now you can't pay your bills, and it just gets where people even have gambling problems. You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, my money's too important to me, and every dollar that I make, you know, and I need it for something else. I ain't got time to
Oh, it
be
can bring
taking
on
no
an added
chances.
yeah, it can
I mean,
bring an
that
added-
would be nice to play a dollar and win $1.5 billion, but the chances of that happening are how many? in one?
121 million to
Okay,
one.
you know what I'm
That's
saying?
That's what
So
the odds
I'm
were.
not-
121 million to one.
I'm sorry, I ain't willing to take that chance. You know, I just go out here and do what I got to
I'm
do
gonna
and
keep it
work
real
hard.
with you. I spent about $40.
Well, okay.
I'm keeping it straight.
Well, at
real
least you
across the
keeping it
board.
real, because
I spent about $40
'cause some people
1.5
spent-
billion.
some people spent other folks' money and
Yeah,
went and played,
yeah.
and then said, you know, well, I'm gonna go do this, and if it happens to we happen to hit, we're gonna be straight, you
Yeah.
know. But then again, you're telling other people, well, believe God, and He's gonna open the window of heaven and pour you out a blessing you won't have room enough to receive, and just pay the tithe. And I'm gonna submit something to you, and I'm gonna get in trouble for this one, okay? But what's the difference? People play the church lottery every Sunday. And when you look at it from this standpoint of view, most people, not everybody, they just coming to give because they're being told that if you don't, you're going to be in trouble, which I'll challenge any preacher to show me where Old Testament tithing and New Testament giving is the same thing. Anybody. But in that, people are giving 50, hoping that they get 50,000. Or they giving 100 and hoping that they're gonna get 100,000. And if you pay that 10%, God is gonna open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing you don't have room enough to receive. Here's the issue though. I know people who have died and were faithful time players, and they died broke. And they had to stop the funeral and take up offering so they
Wow.
can put them in the ground. So then
Wow.
that can't be
Wow.
what that means, because that person should have died rich.
Right.
So anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
we could go on
Right.
and on, but
But Pastor Eli, I do thank you for the conversation.
Yes,
What-
sir.
and what I would recommend to my viewing audience is this: whatever you can do, do it.
yeah,
Whatever you can do, whatever God placed in your heart to do to help somebody, help somebody. Keep your motives pure, and whatever organizations, churches, or whatever we got, keep Dr. King's legacy and his dream still vibrant and still relevant today.
yeah.
You might have to tweak it a little bit, but we have had programs like the OIC and a bunch of different other
Bring 'em
programs.
back.
Bring them back.
Yes, sir.
I mean, let's bring them back. If you can't do nothing but just give computer classes at your
Right,
church,
absolutely.
somebody's in their community that needs it. And we got a lot of retirees they're in the trades. They're looking for something to do. Bring in some of these brothers and sisters and let them work with some young people throughout the community. And don't be selective in the young people that you want to deal
Right,
with.
right.
Pick up some of these brothers that could potential be violent criminals or whatever the case might be, because hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And if they don't get the proper help and the proper assistance and the proper mental support that they need, then they become violent, they become hurtful to our community. So let's bring somebody up in 2016. I thank the Lord for everybody that tune into our program
Right.
every Sunday night. And thank the Lord for you,
Thank
Pastor Elam. Thank you for you, Jason, and taking your time out to tape this program. And especially thank all you guys that tune in to us. Thanks for another episode of Let Truth Be Told.